This is a working session, which means if you're watching here and you're joining with us for the next 15-20 minutes, we're going to be here for like 20 minutes working together. So I would recommend you take a notebook and you join along with the journey. I have my iPad here ready to do the same thing, and our friends here have got their notebooks. So I would recommend you pick up a notebook and then you get going with that. In the last episode, we were working with Maria and we were looking at her Instagram page and looking at like what was the strategy. And if you're interested in like a new type of strategy that we've been discussing over the last week, it's going to be linked right here. But today we're going to talk about this and look at Maria because we're going to follow up on that example. And so let me bring your page up. It's here. And so, Maria, can you tell us in one sentence, what is it that you do with Otter, your brand?
Yeah, Otter is a platform, a digital platform, like through which we connect people who are looking for custom pieces of furniture with a local carpenter ideal to this idea. So we do like a match between particulars or also professionals like an architect or interior designer with our network of carpenters around Spain.
Beautiful. All right. Sounds good. Pretty clear to me, some sort of like Tinder for carpenters and all of that,
Yes.
right? Basically.
Like the
All right.
Uber, the Uber of carpenters, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Let's do it. All right. So, Maria, on the last episode, we were talking about how um, you've been following, you have a podcast and you make a few articles,
Yeah.
and how then from these podcasts and big long pieces and articles, you chop it down and you repurpose some of these, like make some carousels and make some like smaller pieces, maybe post on LinkedIn and whatnot. What I'm gonna do now is we're gonna make a little exercise on how to approach this for next year. Instead of taking this approach focus on the actual format of the content, we're gonna take a step back and we're gonna focus on the topics and your domain expertise for the brand. And what do you
Hmm.
want this brand to be known for? Okay. So let's start with this. Um, what is your, what would you say, how do you want to be known for?
Yeah, I was thinking when you were explaining before these ideas, and for me, it's not about the furniture, but more to help a market embrace digitalization and the future of carpentry.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little bit abstract, but um, yeah, but this is what what I feel because I'm not an expert in furniture. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not an interior designer. So I'm the
All right.
person who is building the product, the digital
Got you. So
product.
it's basically carpentry innovation. Could we say that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
I have no freaking idea how carpentry. Someone help me here on the group. Did I spell this right?
I
Carpentry.
think there is the other. Yeah, I think it's that way in English.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I live for. Good spelling. Okay. Innovation.
Hmm.
So now if you're watching, I would ask you to do the same. Take your notebook and put in 2 words. Don't freaking write like a massive paragraph because that's not what like that's not why we're here. In a couple of words, and you can always, here's the good thing, you can always change that later. Okay? So not you're not signing a contract. It's all good. We can change that later. So a couple of words, what do you want to be known for? So in my case, it could be branding and content, or creator branding, or content branding. I don't know, whatever shit like that. Okay. Um, for example, Mark, now that we can hear you, what would be your domain expertise? How do you want to be known for?
I guess what I want to be known for is someone who can solve the pain of having a good-looking identity on internet. So I guess a branding expert, but focused on content and on content creation. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So basically, are you working with big brands? Because it's also good to narrow it down. So branding
Yeah.
experts, there's gazillions, right? So I feel like you are working with leaders building their personal brands. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. I want to work
So,
with thought leaders, CEOs, CMOs.
all right. So in
Uh,
your case, just for the exercise, I would say maybe you can go with something like thought leaders branding, and then it will
okay.
from there. How does it sound?
Sounds beautiful.
All
It
right,
sounds
cool.
beautiful. Yeah. I like it.
Ida, one more. Where are you gonna put on the middle of the circle?
Sorry, I hope my sound is okay. I put down personal growth, but I think I need to narrow it down some more. But yeah.
All right, your sound is fantastic, and you look great, and everything's working. So personal growth, is that like personal as a person, or like as a brand or as a business growth?
As a brand and the employees that are involved in the business,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
if that makes
So
sense.
is would it be like employee branding growth or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think I can look in that direction.
All right,
Um,
cool.
because I'm
I think I lost you right there on the sound. All right. Cool. So
no
yeah, got you now. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I just wanted to add in because I'm a strong believer that the employees you make, like no matter how you want to direct your brand, the people who are involved is what your brand will end up growing into. Is that
Right. Yeah, that
especially
makes
for new
sense.
companies?
Right. That makes sense. 100%. Yeah. All right. So we'll refine a name for that. And Olivia, I see you. I think you're still there on the chat. Just type what whatever you wanna. No, I know you're not working for your brand. You're working for your client. So pick one client and put on the chat what you want to be known for. And if anyone else is watching here, just put that on the chat. We'll look at that too. So let's take the next step from this. So we have carpentry, innovation, Maria. That's what we're going with for this exercise. Now, what I'm gonna ask you is, I'm gonna ask you to give me a couple of themes for that brand. So author your brand, which we have right here, talks about a lot of different things, right? And can
Mhm.
talk a lot about a lot of different things, connecting carpenters with brands or people who need those carpenters. So my question to you is, can you give me a theme that this brand can talk about? I will put it right here.
Hmm. Yeah. This is like a business therapy because I already
It
know my
is.
pillar content, but now I'm thinking a lot. So, yeah, a couple of themes could be. Well, I'm not sure if this is like a theme, but and also I think it's one of the things that also likes more like our audience, which is design curation, like spaces that are special or have something different. So this kind
All
of
right.
inspirational pictures, not necessarily projects that our carpenters have done,
Okay.
but yeah. So this is one, and the other one. It's more about how can you how all of us are able to bring our own genuinity or authenticity through designing our own piece of furniture. So I think this is something really interesting about artisanal products. I'm not sure if this is a correct word. But
Craftsman, like
artisans are,
craftsman,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
artisans.
craftsmanship. Yeah, artisans are able to project your identity in a piece of furniture. I think this is
Right.
amazing.
All right.
So
So
yeah, this is
the
another
first one
theme.
would be spatial design, correct?
Yeah.
And the second one would be like art.
Yeah, I maybe this is like kind of a topic, but it's easier to explain that way. It's kind of empowering people through furniture. It's like, hey, you can do the thing you have in mind. You don't need to
Oh,
buy
love
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so it's
one
more like
is more,
empowerment.
yeah, it's like it's do what you want. That's why I was saying that for me, it's not about furniture. It's about finding the way to project your ideas in well by constructing pieces of furniture.
Love it. So this is a great, it's very philosophical, I have to say. We'll find a way to
Yeah,
like
but
make it more specific, but that's your
exactly.
brand and I love it. So well, it's good because now we have two different topics here. We have spatial design. This is definitely something this brand can talk about because eventually this is one like the value thing. Like at the end of the day, I guess I'm making this up, but if I hire this brand or like if I get the services of this brand, it's because I'm trying to like improve my space, right? So this is
Yes.
definitely like as a thought leader or your domain expertise, this is something you can talk about. And then DIY empowerment, this idea of like do it yourself, I think it's also very, very interesting. Now, give me one more.
Hmm. Well, one more could be, but I'm not an expert on this. It's hard work to make this kind of content. It's like tips on how, tips, recommendations in the end on how ask for your piece of furniture is like which details you need to think about when you are defining your briefing. Because in the end, for a final customer, making a piece of furniture is like a project. You need to do a
Right.
briefing, we ask you questions, so you need to think. So we try to educate, to say it that way, um, or give ideas to make this process easier for our customers.
I see. Okay. So let's see how we can put this down here. How about just furniture?
Yeah.
And then we can see how we can break this down. I feel like we have
Mm.
space design, like spatial design. So it's more about this is what I'm reading from what you're saying. Doesn't mean that it's exactly what you said, because I'm filtering through my own lenses. But what I'm hearing now is like, okay, we have one first one that's basically spatial design. It's all about like the space, and it's all about yeah, like kind of like interior design type thing, a little bit, right? Another one which is more about like mindset and empowerment and like do it yourself, right? And then we have another one which is literally the product, like the furniture, right? So we have another like area
Mm.
which is let's talk about furniture. How does it sound?
Mm. Can I say something?
Of course.
Because I have like a question I asking myself too, but now popped up. Um, I was thinking on maybe this third theme. It could be something that I'm thinking about a lot now because our podcast is about how we think, how we develop our platform. It's like building in public mindset. So I was thinking on how it could be, or how can I bring me more to the table through the content, the idea of how we can build things better, like how we can work better, how we can communicate better with our customers, because in the end, Otter is a tool. So I'm thinking on, I don't know, and also talk about how we improve things or how we develop our own platform. Um, Means also how we can bring also value to our customers, or maybe carpenters also, on how they can also develop their businesses better. So I think also this theme is more near technology and innovation. So I'm not sure if this is interesting for our audience, but it's like a theme I was thinking about lately.
I think, yeah, this is very interesting. This sounds to me more like a big brand narrative
Hmm.
than maybe necessarily how to actually, create those type of like the specific pieces of content that you can actually make. But let's keep it as that. Let's keep it for now as
Okay.
a way to, as a way to like improve and build that. And like, because I feel like this will kind of touch on all the different themes because I feel like that's your like voice, like your point of view. I don't know the brand yet, but from what you're saying, sounds like this is like a big brand proposition. And the reason why I think like this is because it can be applied to like all the themes that we've been looking at. So this is like build better. It's like the whole like how space can make you feel better, how furniture elements can make you feel better, how empowerment can make you feel better. So I don't know if I'm going like too far now.
Yeah.
Am I? Okay. Okay.
Makes
Cool.
sense. Makes sense.
All right, so let's
Thank
add
you.
one last, no, of course. So let's add one last theme that is specific. So we're talking about space here. We're talking about DIY and like process. This to me sounds more like process. We're talking about furniture. What one more thing can we add here?
Wow. And specific thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's really difficult to be specific.
All right, that's okay. I'll help you.
I
Yeah.
have a suggestion too.
Specific. Yes,
All right,
please.
Mark, go ahead. Mark has a suggestion. Okay, Mark, bring it on.
Okay, so I was thinking that when you want to build your own furniture, it's probably because you're not finding what you want in the market, right? So I think a great
Exactly.
way to, to show inspiration and to show people this idea that they can build what they don't find in the market is by showing examples of other people who have done this. So I would just use people who have built furniture with you and just show them and the furniture and explain their story,
That's
their
awesome.
process.
So, Mark, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say this. That's the reason why you can clearly see why Mark, this is his job and that's what he does because he has like a good, a good eye for this. Maria, how does it sound? Does it sound like something we should
Yeah.
add and talk about?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you very much, Mark. And it's funny because we already do this kind of testimonials. We have articles about people who have been clients, and we show these pieces of furniture and their stories behind. So we do this, but I was not thinking about this as a as content, like a theme itself. um, Maybe because it's really challenging to do this kind of pieces, and also this is my main challenge now, which is how to develop this kind of content without
All right,
spending 500 euros in
that's fine.
in the
We'll get
photographer.
there. There's amazing tools that will cover that will take these 500 to very little. So this is good news for you.
Thank you.
So we'll get there. But before we even get there in execution, let's continue with this step back of like mapping the things that we want to talk about. Okay. And as I said at the beginning, this might sound like a very simple exercise, and let's be honest, it is. But if you haven't done it for a while, or maybe you've never done it, it's quite challenging, and things that for you are a given, you might not even think about those things. So that's why it's like good to have this little exercise here, like do it on your notebook, and then like put it somewhere on the wall, because that is the one thing, that's the compass that you're gonna use when you're making content during the whole next year. That's the one thing that you're gonna be like when you're completely lost refining a freaking carousel or like exporting and like, oh shit, I forgot slide number 3. That's the one thing you want to get back to. Or when your piece number 203 goes viral and you're like, oh my god, it's finally happening. And now you're like, shit, like how do I replicate that? And you start repeating that post over and over and over trying to get those numbers. You're gonna lose track of this. And this is the one thing, this very simple ugly sketch we're doing right here is the one thing that'll give you focus. So treat this as a compass. Can we just agree on that? We're gonna put compass here. So like, this is actually a good name for this, compass. I was trying to figure out how to call this video. This might actually be a good title for this video. Designing your content compass, double C framework strategy, whatever. Okay, let's continue. So number 4, I think, Mark, that was brilliant. Yeah, we're missing this. And you know what? I've done this exercise a few times before, and for some reason, it's always the one missed, the one that no one like really counts on. So let's put here, you could say the customers, you could say the artists. I feel like the makers, like let's just call them makers, because this is a good name. I don't know, Maria, if that sounds right to you, but this is a name that could work for people who you are hiring, but also the people who are creating. We want them to feel like makers too, probably.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
giving you an idea. But anyway, just for the sake of the exercise, we're calling them makers. Okay, so we've got these very nice 4 themes, and it's very important when you're doing this, if you're doing this now at home with us, with a notebook, please don't do more than 4. There's a reason why I designed this like that. It's not that random, actually. If you only do 3, it's gonna feel like it's not enough. If you're gonna do 5, you're not gonna be able to remember them so quickly. I feel like for this specific exercise, 4 is a good number. Usually 3 is the right number. In this specific exercise, I like adding 4. So I would recommend you do this. Now, we're gonna break it down into a couple topics, okay? So there's 1 second round of this exercise. We did sorry, I should say third round, because the round number 1 was defining your domain expertise. Round number 2, so in this case, round number 1 was carpentry innovation. Round number 2, in this case, is all these themes that we define. And for this specific case, we have spatial design, DIY empowerment, furniture, and makers. I feel like that's a pretty solid, like good themes. And then we're gonna do a new pass, which is gonna be topics. So we have 5 more minutes left. So we don't have that much time to go through all of this. But I'm gonna do a little, like we're gonna do a couple of themes. So you see. So for spatial design, for example, Maria, give me really quick 2 things that you could talk about.
Yeah, for example, I don't know, it could be 5 beautiful coffee shops in Barcelona that they use.
All right. So
Yeah,
real
interesting pieces of furniture.
locations.
Yeah, basically, at the moment we do this with this
All right, that's
theme.
fine.
Yeah,
Another one
real
could be.
locations. Yeah, also reformations, other architects or interior designer projects.
Okay, so renovations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, at some point we used to also do like sometimes like a selection of objects, for example, and
Okay.
also it could be also about, for example, ceramics, not necessarily pieces of furniture, but more in the artisan space, something interesting or that we like because of the design, basically.
All right, so for the sake of this exercise, because we're on the spatial section, I think this might be interesting here on the furniture section, maybe. So interesting, let's say interesting objects. All right, could be just, we put objects. Again, this is for the sake of the exercise. You can then change it to like specific furniture and whatnot, but this could be like a theme that you could talk about, like, you know, you're an expert on the future of innovation, and then this could be like one of the themes. Right. Another,
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you out real quick. Just being mindful of time, just for the sake of this exercise. For furniture, we've got interesting objects. Let me see if I can pull this up a little bit. Another thing that I think would be interesting for you, at least from me, to hear from you, could be interesting topics, could be process, could be tools, right?
Yeah.
In this one right here, empowerment and mindset and do it yourself, could be, yeah, your whole building better like narrative. I feel like here could be
Hmm.
building better. So I feel like this narrative here could be interesting for you. And then on the makers, you could talk about carpenters. This is when I'm gonna fuck up spelling again. Carpenters could be aspiring carpenters or just people with good taste,
Yeah. Yeah, or clients, like the stories behind the processes.
right? Do you have a name for them? Do you call them in a different way that is not clients?
Well, we sometimes we have like a hashtag, like the authors,
All right, the
because Ocho
authors.
is
All
the
right.
brand.
All right. So well, yeah, you can talk about the authors here. Authors. All right. So how does this sound? Does this sound like something that's manageable?
Yeah, it's manageable.
That's the whole point, okay? So in this case, we're doing carpentry innovation, which is something very innovative. It's something that maybe it's not like your Japanese restaurant, okay? Um, but this is for me the way, like a very simple, basic, dramatically oversimplified way to talk and like describe the things that you talk about as a brand, okay? And I really, really like using this specific format which looks a little bit like shit. I clearly need to improve my handwriting for these sessions, and which I will. But you get the idea. There's a core thing here, and then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 themes, and like on the themes, you've got the different topics you can talk about. And so let's say different example would be if you have a restaurant like a Japanese restaurant here, you could talk similar about like different locations and different spaces, the philosophy behind the food and like the stuff like that. You could talk about you could have food and ingredients and recipes here, and you could have cookers here, right? So this applies to like any business, and it's in my opinion a very simple way to approach this and like to start, like bringing it down to like a paper that you can literally just put on the wall, like rip it out of your notebook, stick it on the wall. And again, as I said, when you're completely lost in like the design and like the optimization of the post, you can always refer back to be like, okay, so for the last like couple of months, we've been focusing a lot on these two sections. And we forgot about this. Let's balance it out a little bit, right? I want to have, we're about to finish the session, but I'm going to take 1 or 2 questions.
Alex, I think Olivia makes a really interesting point about the brand being as a person and how do you create that care and relevancy.
Right. So yeah, this is one. Thanks, Gayarti, for that. I like to say always brands are like people. This is like the one thing that's driven my entire career. And yeah, so this is actually a very good way to start thinking about the content. And like Olivia says, um, it's important to understand what's relevant for the brand. It's important to understand what's relevant for people watching, and potentially these people watching can become your customers, hopefully. So this is to me like a really good way to like think of, like, even myself when I'm planning this content, I'm like, let's focus on what do I want to talk about, because I could talk about like gazillion things, but I'm like, okay, for the next 3 months, let's just focus on this. And I would strongly encourage you to just have 4 themes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then have three bullet points here for the topics, no more than that, because then you have 12 things that you can talk about. 12 is a lot, so you can always change that, right? But that's a really good, interesting way to do that. Does it expand to other ideas beside branding? Do you mean the content? I would assume that you're talking about the content and how this can influence how you're perceived. So my whole thing with this is content is the one thing that will keep your online persona healthy. Even to those people who actually don't know you yet or haven't bought anything from you yet. Content is the one thing that if you keep pumping out content, people will keep interacting with you. So in my opinion, content is just fuel for brands, whether that's your own personal brand or whether that's your business brand. Now, this is my approach. So when you're thinking about what do you want to talk about, at the end of the day, the things that you talk about is how people are going to perceive you, right? So in my opinion, it's also good to have, this compass that will help you, keep staying focused, stay on track, and yeah, I can continue like talking about the things that are, interesting for you, but also have, understand that this is like a flexible tool. This is this gives you flexibility, and you can always change it. But it's good that that when you're changing it, you do that mindfully, if that makes sense. So hopefully this answered your question, and I think we're gonna wrap it up here. So thanks so much to all of you for this great call, and thank you all for watching.